Welcome inside another edition of the pregame presented by Twitch. Vince Sapienza coming to you from Raiders HQ, joined by my guy, 8-year NFL vet, former Raiders running back Rashad Jennings. Rashad, it's been too long. The bye week was a week of rest. It is good for everybody, but I missed you. I missed you, especially. We had a lot of football to talk about, and I know Raider Nation is done talking about the game prior to the bye week, the one that happened in Arrowhead, so we don't need to dive into that. So first thing I want to do is jump into how a team responds following a bad loss, right? And I'm sure you've been part of big wins, big losses, and all in between. But when you're coming off a loss like the Raiders did into the bye week, where you have a lot of time to sit there and think and do a lot of self-scouting, right? Like looking in the mirror legitimately, is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? How would you take it if you were back in the locker room?
Back in the locker room, taking a big loss, right into the bye week is always difficult because that's the last taste that you have in your mouth until you play again. It's one of those things at the end of the season. You always want to play one of your best games because you don't have a chance for several months. This one hurt. It stung. But the good thing about it is, yes, you self-scout because that's what we need to do. We need to figure out the recipes so we can cook better in the kitchen because it's a good team. It's a good roster. Now you're bringing back everybody a little bit more healthier. You're bringing back Jacoby Myers is coming back healthier. You're bringing Brock Bowers coming back a little bit healthier. So there's a lot of excitement. Obviously, Jacksonville has to come to us. So it's like, boom, wash your hands, go through the TSA, make sure you ain't got no bad jujus in you, and you get through the next flight because there's a lot more football to be played and anything can happen.
So the bye week comes, it is gone now. How did you treat bye weeks and how truly helpful for you was it? And again, I know it's different, injuries and rest and all that, but just the mental aspect of it for NFL players.
For me, it is about mentally refreshing, resetting, making sure you get all the little owies and an extra rehab if you can, a few more massages, because you kind of want, this is the only time in the season where it's not full throttle. You actually get to sit back and relax a little bit, get healthy. That's a very important thing. And I know, and fans that understand the game and the business of it, obviously you want athletes to be football, go, burn out. But here's the time where athletes need very much rest. This is our opportunity. So I'm sure everybody took advantage of it. You self-scout, you figure out one or two little nuances that you can do better, but also you self-scout to see what you're doing amazing, right? Because that's what you want to do more of. So I know for me as a running back, a lot of times I would always see where's my weaknesses in my game, for sure. But I would say, okay, what am I doing well? Mm-hmm. How am I getting extra hidden yardages? Wow. I need to focus on doing that more than I am always just looking at the negative. So sometimes this happens in play calls, right? You could potentially say, hey, I need to run back-to-back plays more if they're working. Why get away? Stay on schedule, all of these things. And so I think Geno Smith, top to the bottom, everybody's trying to figure out what can I do just a little squeak better to help this organization move forward.
Yeah, that's really great insight by you because I think when people sit there and say, look in the mirror, self-scout, they automatically go to the negative, right? All the things I did wrong, how do I fix that? But I think a big part of that is also looking at all the things you did right. And specifically for a guy like Geno Smith, you go back to week one, right? I know it's 2 months ago, feels like forever for Raider Nation, but week one looked great. 9 plays of 20-plus yards. He was spraying it all over the field. And you can look at that and say the common denominator was a healthy Brock Bowers. You just mentioned he is back in the fold, a full participant at practice this week. Now, he's not back until he's back on the field, but we all expect him to be there when the ball kicks off at 1:05 at Allegiant Stadium against the Jacksonville Jaguars. But I think we saw what a team looks like on offense for the Raiders with Brock Bowers and a team that does not. What do you expect with 89 back in the fold?
I expect 89 back in the fold, that it opens up the offense and we get to continue to oil and grease down that engine as much as we were doing from the very beginning. With a healthy Brock Bowers opens up the offense. It's ran through him. It's kind of asking, like, what does the offense look with Travis Kelce or without Travis Kelce? You kidding me? It's a big difference. But because of that, I think this week we're definitely going to have to lean on one particular stat between Jacoby and a Brock Bowers, and that is the TD. I think if they get a TD in this game, it advances so much for the rest of the team. Here's some high-flying guys. Here's some guys that's poised. Here's some guys that we wanted to lean on, especially coming into the season. There was a high expectation. Obviously, they have high expectations as well. And I think it opens up the middle of the field. It opens up the backfield because now you have to account. Linebackers can't just peel their ears back and just blitz, or they have to be worried what's going on in the deep middle. Tampa 2 opens up the run. It helps Genty. It softens the line. Everything happens because of how great Brock Bowers is, and I think the system is kind of built around him silently.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to me because I don't think anybody sat there and didn't understand the importance of Brock Bowers, but maybe they even undersold it at times because with him not in it, this offense looks completely different. Him back at the top of the food chain, everybody kind of falls in line. So again, expectations I think are high once again for this offense, similar to what they were before the regular season started. And I'm curious, where do you think that pressure falls now in terms of the offense come Sunday? Is that on Geno saying, okay, you got all your weapons, let's see what it looks like? Or does this fall on the coaching staff, specifically at Chip Kelly, saying, hey, you have all your weaponry at your disposal, let's get creative. Let's make this thing look like it did in week 1.
Yeah, I think the best way to answer that is who does the pressure fall on, Vince? And that's everybody. Now, the fans may have one or two people that they may want to aim for, but right now inside of the building, I'm letting everybody know that the pressure is felt on every single individual to perform at a high level. Of course, starting with any quarterback, with any team, Geno Smith feels that. And if you look through statistically in the first 8 games, we're second to last behind Tennessee for passing yards, right? Which is a rookie quarterback. And then I think we're second and we're in the bottom half or bottom 5 for rushing. We're in the bottom tier of pretty much every stat. That's not at all indicative of the type of talent that we have on the roster at all, folks. So there's a lot of pressure on every person to figure out what are we doing wrong. Because the structure is there, we have the players, we have the team, we have the coaches. Why are we not executing? And so I think every single person is feeling that type of pressure. And this is a great week because it's the next week to get it going.
Now, for the Raiders, the big story this week is obviously the addition of Brock Bowers back in the fold, seemingly at 100%. Jacoby Myers also back in the fold as well. But on the flip side, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, the big story is what happened recently. Travis Hunter placed on injured reserve after a non-contact knee injury takes him out in practice on Thursday. Obviously ruled out for the next 4 games at minimum, but could be even longer depending on what the tests and things show. So no Travis Hunter. And as much as we talked about Travis Hunter being this two-way player, how he's able to be a receiver and a cornerback, and regardless of where you thought he was at that point, that's now 2 positions this team has to fill on short notice come Sunday on the road coming off a bye. I'm curious, how do you quantify how big of a loss this is for Jacksonville, and selfishly, how big of a gain this would be for the Raiders in being able to attack, what is now a shorthanded road team?
Absolutely. So for Jacksonville, obviously their first-round draft pick, top guy, 2nd overall. It's a lot of expectations for him. He puts it on himself. The man's on the field more than any other player on the entire football field. So obviously it makes an impact to the game offensively and defensively. For a guy like him, I believe he's 2nd leading receiver on the team, which is just wild to me. He is a performer. And Jacksonville took a real big hit simply because this was a non-contact injury, which history shows those are worse than any other. It's something gave. More so than it was an impact. So it's very difficult to assess that. I wish him well. Hope he gets back healthy. He's good to the league. Now, as far as the Raiders, this is an opportunity to take advantage and exploit some of the holes. That's kind of the business we're in the NFL. We exploit things, right? We find weaknesses and we attack it. I've been playing pickleball a lot, and I tell you always go after the worst player. That's just how you win. And so we are going to attack all day over here with the Raiders, figure out, okay, can somebody fill in that spot? Is there a void? Can we blitz a little bit more on defense because they don't have a dump off to Travis Hunter? We're going to figure that out. But I tell you, it's unfortunate for a kid like that to get injured on a non-contact. I wish him well. Hope he gets back. But Raiders, here's an opportunity. Not just because he's hurt. It's an opportunity because it's next week. But this is a must-win, especially at home.
You're playing bully ball and pickleball? Is that what's going on?
Listen, the first game, this is how it is. The first game, I tee it up. I see how the opponent is and see what kind of skill they got because I'm here for the community. If we just want to get the ball over the net and have a good time, cool. But if I see you got some skills, it's going down.
Okay. Again, a nice little insight to Rashad Jennings. Take me into the locker room. Okay, injuries happen every week. They happen to every team throughout the league in the history of the National Football League. But, such a tough blow to a team like Jacksonville. Like, I look back and I think to a year ago, Malcolm Kuntz gets injured the practice before that, similar to Jacksonville, that Thursday into Friday before week 1 of the NFL season. And the gut punch to the locker room just mentally was tough on the Raiders a season ago. I imagine it's going to be a similar thing. This is one of their top guys. This is one of their young, exciting, big personality guys in the locker room. Do you have any memories of injuries like that truly affected the locker room and maybe put them in a funk, or it took a minute to get over it?
You know what? As far as injuries, I can't say I've been around some sustainable or injuries that occurred that like kind of deteriorated the whole entire locker room. But I will say this, though, the injury pretty much, folks, is somebody not being available on the team participating. When I was in Jacksonville, we had David Garrard, the starting quarterback, going into, I think it was my year 3. And we were set. He had one heck of an offseason. He had one heck of a camp all preseason. There was no question about who the starter was. Now, the Jacksonville also drafted Blaine Gabbert first round. I think it was 10th or 11th overall that year. And unbeknownst to us, we are getting ready to prepare for a Sunday game. We got the call, the team got the call, and so did David Garrard, that he was cut that Monday morning. Surprise, surprise to everybody. And that seemingly is like the injury, right? It's like, we didn't expect this. Yeah. It was a non-contact injury. Where did this come from? So many expectations for this guy. Boom, gone. And I tell you, it messed up a lot of energy in that locker room, for sure. And so I think these type of things happen. You see where Scatterboo gets hurt out of nowhere and what that does to a locker room. Like, these things happen. These are elements of the game, and unfortunate that we can't plan for. But you do have to shift, adjust, and plan accordingly.
All right, Rashad, let's take a deep dive into you. How does this game sit on you? Former Jag, former Raider. Now, I understand that you've been on both sides of this coin as a player as well. What is this dynamic like for you this weekend?
Yeah, I'm on every side of this coin. I might even help participate in making this coin, because not only did I play for the Jaguars and played against the Raiders, I played for the Raiders and played against the Jaguars, in both different stadiums. So I tell you, I have love for both organizations, obviously. Jacksonville gave me my first opportunity. Quick little story. I was actually the leading rusher at the Senior Bowl, folks. And at the Senior Bowl, Jacksonville happened to coach the South Side, which I was on. If they didn't coach the South Side, I don't think I get drafted. They remembered how hard I worked. They remembered the skills I had because they coached me and was surprised I was still on the board. That's how I got drafted. So thank you. Now to the Raiders, my beloved Raiders. I got my opportunity when Darren McFadden went down. I took advantage of it. I got MVP of the team, Offensive Player of the Year, gave me a great platform and opportunity. So listen, I just want to sit back and watch. I'm kind of leaning, obviously, to I love that black. And I love that silver. So I want to see things turn around. I really, really, really do. This AFC West is difficult. And I seriously think, just like I said at the beginning of the year, the roster is there and the talent is there, folks. So when in doubt, always go with the home team. Let's go Raiders.
And that is a 105 kickoff at Allegiant Stadium between the Raiders and Jaguars. I want to get your 2 cents on this. You know, Pete Carroll met with the media during the work week, as he always does on Wednesdays, and I thought it was an interesting glimpse into how a Pete Carroll run program is. Right here are the Raiders coming off one of their worst losses in recent memory, one of the worst losses in NFL recent memory. They're on the bye, and the first thing he says, you know, what an opportunity we have at Allegiant Stadium. It's a place where we just had success, and we want to feel that again. And I thought that was interesting because there's a lot of coaches out there, and I'm sure you've been coached by some, that would sit there and use the fuel from what didn't happen at Arrowhead and say, hey, can't let that happen again. Instead, Pete Carroll gives us this glimpse of saying, hey, he's using the fuel and the good feelings and the positivity that was had against the Tennessee Titans at Allegiant Stadium, first home win for the Raiders this season, and using that to springboard their fuel and their fire for this weekend. Again, it may seem like a small thing to fans, but I feel like that's a pretty important note in terms of how Pete Carroll leads, and it's something he's done for years.
Absolutely, folks. And I'm going to solve a riddle for everybody right now. There's always this question, is the glass half full or half empty? All right, this is how you determine it. If you're drinking the water, it's half empty. If you're filling it up, it is half full. It all depends on what you are doing, right? And Pete Carroll, what he is doing is filling this team up. And because of that, the glass is half full. He's looking towards, where do we pour into this team? How do we get the right energy? How do we put the right perspective? How do we look forward into the future of what we can accomplish? And that's what a leader does. And so I think just because of that, this team is glass half full, because I keep going back to the roster is there. Mm-hmm. Now, if we would have told you at the beginning of the year that the leading receiver would be Tucker, a lot of people will say, you know what? That's just a heck of a player. I just wouldn't expected that because of so many other players and talent on the roster. Now, with him being the leading receiver, and you're bringing back Brock, right? And you're bringing back now Jacoby. I think now things will start to shift and move, and we found a run game and understand the sustainability of how to get it going. I think it's going to make a big difference.
You know, as we take a deep dive into the Raiders' opponent, the Jacksonville Jaguars, you know, one of the big stats that have popped out, this is a Jacksonville team that beat the 49ers on the road. They beat Kansas City, yet they've lost their last 2 games heading into their bye week, which was coincidentally the same as the Raiders. And you're sitting there asking the question, who is this team? Is this team that good, or is this team, a little smoke and mirrors? And I think one of the big stats, at least in the last 2 games they've played, Trevor Lawrence has been pressured 71 times. That is an insane number. And what that tells me, as somebody who's sitting here in the lovely confines of Raiders HQ, the Raiders D-line is salivating, looking to eat. And it's one of those things that it's not even an expectation. They have to. They have to get after Trevor Lawrence, especially with the Travis Hunter injury. Now you have one less weapon that Lawrence has an option to go to. He's going to hold the ball half second longer, split second longer. Is that going to give the opportunity for the defensive line to eat? And I just can't shake the memory, Rashad. I know it was the Tennessee Titans, but the Raiders got 6 sacks that day. And the feeling inside Allegiant Stadium was just different. And the look from the players on the sideline was just different when those big dogs were eating. And it just feels like this weekend, that opportunity is ripe for the picking again.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm calling the Raiders defense the demolition squad, the demo. Why? Because they get a chance to just go in and destroy folks. And that's what you want on that side of the ball. You want somebody to just set back, get that excavator, knock the house down completely, forget trying to salvage anything, destroy it all. The offensive side of the ball, you want them to be meticulous and get into the details and demolition. See ball, get ball, hit ball. That's it. And I think this is a good opportunity to continue to allow Jacksonville to give up sacks pressures, which then on the back end allow them to strap up, get some tip balls. Maybe we might even see the Raiders wind up with a defensive touchdown this week and put your offense in a special position through special teams. You're already in field goal range a lot of times. This is going to be a big opportunity for field possession, especially, again, without a Hunter on the field. There's a lot that can happen for the Raiders to take advantage of.
For those that don't know, Rashad is Mr. DIY, so all the house and that all lines up. Rashad, who's the one guy for the silver and black you have your eye on this week?
This week, 100%, Brock Bowers. I think he is going to be he's that red circle the whole time while he's on the football field. Where is he at? And I think a lot of plays will center around him. Run game, pass game, protection. Where's Brock? Where's Brock? Where's Brock? I'm looking at him the whole entire game offensively. And obviously on defense, I'm leaning on the one and only, the sack master himself, to destroy and show why he is one of the highest paid defensive ends in the NFL today.
The demolition squad, as Rashad said. Now, before we get out on this one and I let you go, Rashad, I feel like there's an opportunity here. It's Halloween weekend. If Ashton Jeanty does not show up to the game in a Michael Myers mask, that's a failure, right? Like it's right there for him. It's right there for him.
It's a layup.
I mean, I don't know if there's anything easier than it's at minimum it has to be a Michael Myers T-shirt, right? Like he's on Applebee's commercials. He's got the personality. He's got the pizzazz. We're 2 months into this. Do you think he's comfortable enough as a rookie to pull something like that off? Would a rookie Rashad Jennings have done that at Halloween?
That's the tough one right there. That's a tough one. I don't know if the rookie feels that good, but I tell you what, for marketing, I kind of got this like marketing background just a little bit and get excited about it when I talk about events. But could you imagine if the fans bought into that stance so much that the fans started to dress up like that, or when he scores a touchdown, everybody just sits stiff in the stadium? Like and he just buys into it. Like it becomes the Jeanty stance. And I seriously, when you talk, those what are those things called? The little bobbleheads and stuff. And they're always action figures. Here's just like right there, like the eye.
Michael Myers, everywhere. Ashton Jeanty bobblehead giveaway.
Dude, the commercials will be crazy. The commercials will be every time you see him on a commercial. So what's up with this dude?
Dude, we get a piece of that. We just came up. We're the brainchild. We get a piece of that. We'll see if Ashton Jeanty shows up as Michael Myers. If not, we just hope he is a bit of the boogeyman to the Jacksonville Jaguars on the field. Sunday at Allegiant Stadium, the Raiders playing host to the Jacksonville Jaguars, a 1:05 kickoff. Thank you so much for joining us here on the pregame presented by Twitch. For Rashad Jennings, I'm Vince Sapienza. For all of our episodes, you can go to Raiders.com, the Raiders YouTube page, or wherever you find your podcasts. Enjoy the game on Sunday. We'll talk to you next week.